And hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the WAFER Confusion Entertainment Review. I'm Thomas, aka MrWartburg. Alongside me, as always, is Mr. Fusion.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
This is, oh man, I'm already lost track of what our numbers are. Are we on 13 now?
I think we hit the teens now.
Yeah, lucky number 13. But I should have looked that up. I'm a terrible host. But yeah, this week, it's March 23rd. We're recording a little off schedule. We're on a Tuesday today, thanks to March Madness, of course, being like the most March Madness we've ever seen.
Oh,
Holy
man,
crap, it's been insane.
Oh, yes.
Did you know, Fusion, this is the highest average number of Sweet 16 teams there's ever been in the NCAA tournament? The highest average seed. Yeah.
I would doubt it.
By a pretty decent sized jump. I want to say it went from like 5.5 was the highest average seed ever. This is like 5.7, which is a pretty significant jump given the tournament like history. But anyway, that's enough sports talk.
Other shows. Go catch other shows for that, right?
Yeah, like there's plenty of other topics and podcasts you can go watch for that. Maybe, a Cap Casualties podcast or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows? And today we're going to be talking about two things that both premiered within 24 hours of each other. That being the Snyder Cut of Justice League, which dropped on HBO Max on March 18th. So last Thursday, I think it was like midnight-ish that it dropped. And then the next day was over on Disney Plus, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Those are going to be the two things we mostly talk about today. Not a whole lot of news. There's a couple Marvel and DC adjacent stories to get to, as well as some discussion around them towards the end of the show. But we're going to start with what came first, and that's the Snyder Cut.
All right.
So, Fusion, how long had it been since you had seen the theatrical cut of Justice League?
I'm going to say probably 2 years. No. I got to correct myself. A year. Because it was... when I had first subscribed to HBO Max, it was on there. And I'm like, okay, let me rewatch it. Was it HBO Max?
Yeah, it would have been, yeah. That was one of the...
Yeah, one of the first things on HBO, right?
Yeah, it was the whole DCEU slate is on there.
EU slate, yeah. Yeah, so that's when I watched it. Was about a year ago when I first subscribed to HBO Max. And yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, let me go back and watch Dawn of Justice first. But I'd purchased on Amazon Video the Ultimate Edition of Dawn of Justice, and I was like, okay, I feel better watching the Ultimate Edition. Let me go into the Justice League, and I'm like, yeah, this really is garbage. Like, I've seen it 3 times, and yeah, saw it in the theater, and then saw it 2 other times, and yeah, but it's not a good movie. No, the Whedon cut.
I 100% agree. There are some scenes I enjoy in the theatrical cut. One of the more Superman moments we ever got out of the DCEU was the "I like truth. I'm also a big fan of Justice" line, followed by a huge punch to the chest. Very much a DCAU, animated universe Superman line right there. Very much a Bruce Timm line.
Yeah.
If that really, harkened back to that for me. But that was one moment in a sea of utter fucking garbage.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things we could talk about the differences, which we're going to get to. So... And yeah, for the timeline for me for watching Justice League, I of course I saw it on opening night. I think it's the only DCEU movie I don't own. Any, either digital or physical. Well, up until now, Wonder Woman 84, but that's so recent I almost don't count it. Because, has it even hit Blu-ray?
I don't think so.
I don't think it has either. The rest I already own or will own digitally. I've been trying to find a good HDR one of Aquaman for cheap, because it's just visually a very stunning movie. To at least throw it up on the TV. And if I could find it for $10, fuck yeah, I'd buy that. That's worth it for me. It's kind of like the Fast and Furious movies, where they're not high art, but they're fun to pop on. But
if you go to half price books and you see it on the shelf, you're like,
I mean, that's what Fast and Furious is. It's just dumb, stupid fun that looks cool. It's like a poor man's Mission Impossible, more or less. That's a smart fun that looks cool. Fast and Furious and Aquaman are dumb fun that looks cool. Kind of like Pacific Rim, but not quite as perfect.
Yeah.
But Justice League was so bad, I was like, I'm not spending any more money on this shit. This sucked. Yeah. Then, of course, you find out all that happened with how Zack Snyder left the project. The backroom fighting, of course, we've been covering a few different times about Ray Fisher. Even on this show, we've talked about it. His allegations and that whole DC investigation into the aftermath of that. We've talked about that a little bit on the show. And so now we finally have it. We have the Snyder Cut. It's here. it was real, but it wasn't finished. So they
Right.
spend $70 fucking million to finish all the post production work because he didn't get to really that stage of the project before he left. So, and that's a lot of money, you know.
Yeah.
So, and apparently Warner Brothers was like, well, it's worth the investment, so let's do it. So, first blush, what were your initial takeaways from the Snyder Cut?
I think we've mentioned multiple times whenever Snyder Cuts come up on this show, I had very low expectations of the movie. And I think one of them I said was, I wouldn't be shocked if it was a good movie, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was bad. I just want it to be better than what we had. I'm going to tell you something. Going into this, it's a 4-hour commitment. It really is. But the first 10 minutes of this fucking movie, you could tell this is completely different. And it makes sense. Like it actually, like just the first 10 minutes in the introduction of the mother boxes and the story with Superman dying and the scream, all of that just it tells you, okay, we're pacing this movie differently. And I was very happy with that. Aesthetically, great movie. Well, let me aesthetically for how Snyder has this whole washed look, it was typical and it was better than what Whedon did to the cinematography. What I felt happened was I don't even think Whedon had the balls to go get the master print and stylize it his way. I really think he was a bit egotistical when he took over this project, took the already whatever washing that this process that Snyder does on his movies, these DCU movies, whatever process he did, I think Whedon kept that part of it and then just added color over it because that's when you go back and look at the two, you're like, that's the only reason why it feels like such an eyesore watching that
It's
that
very
theatrical cut.
saturated.
It's very saturated, but at the same time, the colors just are like they look like they've been markered in. Someone markered in, especially the final scene. In Russia, is it Russia? Yeah,
Yeah, like when all the like the purple shit's going on, and you're like,
and everything's
the
so orange and red, and it's like
yeah.
it's not like that in here. It's like okay, well, we're keeping consistency with the Snyder cut, keeping the style like the print style. Okay, great, but it felt better from start to finish. I really thought this was a good movie, not a great movie. Like if someone asked me, give it 0 out of 10, I'm going to say it's a solid 7. It's a solid 7 for me. One of the better when you really think back, it's like the Wonder Woman is probably the best DCU EU movie, and then Man of Steel. I'm gonna have to say this.
Don't forget about Shazam.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got
But that's the
Shazam was
thing.
good,
He
but
wasn't in this movie. Just like, oh my god, he's
yeah,
maybe the
you
second
forget.
best character in the DCEU,
Yeah,
and he's not in this
yeah.
movie.
He's not in this movie, but like it would you would think that they would try to string like squeeze him in at the back end of this, like in the end credits or something to make it fun, like to show you that he's part of the universe still. But
Yeah.
regardless, it's a solid 7. It's the movie that we deserved. It's the movie that we should have gotten, and it's just an indicator that look, Whedon's done he did the Avengers, he did Age of Ultron, he gave us Firefly for one season, he gave us Angel and Buffy, the TV shows.
While
But
abusing
out
his
of all that,
actors.
I'd be happy to never see this guy do another piece of film ever again. On top of the fact that he's an asshole, he's a piece
Yeah.
of shit human being. But just after what he did to the Snyder cut, it I would rather go watch Rain Johnson's The Last Jedi. Not gonna lie to you, you
Oh,
know?
that is an indictment
Yeah,
for
yeah, and
me.
I will tell you, fuck Rain Johnson for how he treats fans, you know? Look, I get it, he tried to put his own artistic stamp on the whole Star Wars universe, whatever, fine, I get that, but the way, traditional fans were very critical of how he approached things and his just response to them, I didn't like that. But if you tell me, okay, Rain Johnson's gonna produce and direct another Star Wars project, whatever, dude, I don't care. I may not even watch it, but, I may if I'm drunk, I'll watch it. I'm never watching another Whedon superhero movie ever again because Justice League just ruined it for me. It ruined it for me. But this is a good movie. Warburg, I was very happy with it. I was very happy.
Yeah, like my initial question going in, I remember asking this, like, what if it is good? Like I remember
Yeah.
asking you, I think I was living like the temp space when everything broke about how much they were costing and all this, what they were doing
Yep.
for reshoots. We got to talking about it, and I was like, well, what do they do if it's good?
Yeah.
And now they have to answer that question
Oh yeah.
because it's good, and there's an even better movie here that they didn't put out yet.
Yep.
And that would be a final cut. Like they might Blade Runner this shit and actually give us a final cut down the road just for another bump in revenue. Because again, they spent $70 million on this thing.
Oh, hold on, they spent
Yeah,
$75 million.
and that's on top of all the other hundreds of millions, which we're talking at least 500 million in total now.
Yep,
Probably close to, counting marketing budgets and everything.
sure.
Probably close to that. So they got to wring some more money out of this. One thing they can do is put together a final cut. Now, they still own the IP, unless they sign stuff away that they haven't mentioned in any press releases or anything, with Snyder coming back. Who knows if promises were made and contractual, obligations. Who knows what's been put down.
Yeah.
But this is still Warner Brothers property as far as we know, so they own it. And there's a better edited version of the Snyder cut than what we got. Because this is pure Snyder, uncut, unfiltered.
Yeah.
And it shows in some scenes. It really does. We'll get to those in a little bit.
Yeah,
it shows. There's about half an hour you can cut out of this. And it's one of the best superhero movies we've gotten in the last... On top of, not counting really Infinity War and Endgame, because that's culmination of a 22-movie story. Very different setup and expectations than this movie. But for a standalone, not really standalone, but of an origin movie, there's a version of this that's damn close to Avengers.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I understand what you're saying. Like, there were a few cuts, a few audio edits,
Yeah.
like sound production, where there's moments, if you don't know how to catch that stuff, you're not really gonna consider it. But for someone that, for me, that used to edit audio for a living, I can hear certain transitions that don't mesh right, and you can think, especially if you have your headphones on when you're watching this, like, okay, that could be tighter. Okay, that
Yeah.
sun up, sun down here on these two audio pieces, not ramped right. Okay, just little things like that. You could tell that they just didn't have they didn't do a lot of fine tuning to this movie.
Exactly.
It goes these major motion pictures, when they get to post production, especially these action movies, they go through like between 4 and 6 to 6 different cuts, versions, because they present in their raw cut to the studio. Studio says, okay, here are our notes, take it back, and then they go and they refine it, and you could tell that this one could have been cleaned up a little bit more.
This
but
needed
still,
now, of course, maybe no amount of cooking was going to account for COVID.
yeah.
Like maybe they couldn't get in to do the sound mixing that they wanted to strictly because of COVID restrictions.
I didn't think about that. You're right. It's the same problem that happened with WandaVision's last 3 episodes.
Yeah, right. Because they were split production because of COVID.
Yep. And there was going to be more. We were potentially going to get a surprise, that actual surprise engineer, but COVID ruined that. So that they've gone on record and saying, yeah, we know people were asking about Reed Richards being the engineer, and we just want to tell you that we had a vision for the engineer being someone big, but we just never could get to it because of COVID. So same thing here. You're right. You're probably right about that. They just really couldn't tighten it up because of COVID.
Yeah. So, and that's why I think down the road we're going to get one, because there's a number of audio cues, like you mentioned, like individual themes that just get blared too loud or too much.
Yeah.
Like we didn't need them in a few scenes they were even put in, let alone the audio mixing. Plus some individual, things hang a little too long, whereas a little tighter editing process would tighten that all up. But I had a fucking blast with this movie. Like,
I did too.
The back 2 hours, and it's a 4 fucking hour movie. The back 2 hours, I almost couldn't stop smiling. Not that it's like super funny, it's just fun, right?
Yeah.
Especially compared to like Batman versus Superman. Even the Ultimate Cut, which is a better movie, is not a good movie. I didn't wear my... I was going to wear my fucking Batman vs. Superman is a good movie shirt. I have that Greg Miller shirt. I was going to wear that. But I decided to wear the Everything's Fucked shirt just because. That movie, the Ultimate Edition, is better, but not quite good. I'd say it's an above average-ish movie. Okay. The Ultimate Edition. This is legitimately good and also fun. Like, it's dealing with end of the world and apocalyptic stakes and all that, and let alone actual apocalypse with a K. But it's still fun. Like, Snyder finally found the pocket. Like, he finally found out where to go with DC. It's like, shit. And then it makes it kind of bittersweet because you're like, fuck, he's done.
Yeah.
Fuck. That really sucks because where they leave off with this movie, man, it just gets your mind going because you're like, this is DC fucking finally. Still not what I would want to do. Still not perfect. But damn, is it good. And I'm just so kind of mad we're not going to get to see even more from this universe.
Well, and it makes
theoretically.
You're even more pissed because Wonder Woman 84 was just so bad.
Yeah.
Like, you were like, okay, I get it.
Like, Aquaman was in the pipeline by this.
Yeah, yeah.
So that didn't get fucked so bad.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 84 got fucked by multiple different layers.
Yep.
Patty Jenkins having too much power in a few things where she decided to tell WB to fuck off on
Yep.
some things when she shouldn't have. That intro is still 2 intros? What the fuck?
Yeah.
And then also, they didn't know where the fuck the universe was going. They had no plan. All because they didn't let this movie come out. The better edited version of this movie that could have came out in 2017, or probably 2018 if they would have had to push it for what Snyder actually wanted to do. That could have came out the same year as Aquaman and better set up the foundation for what we're getting now from DC, like in 2021. 2017 WB fucking, well, would it have been 2016 when he left? That era WB fucking sucked. They fucked it all, and I'm mad at it. Just mad retroactively. It's a different WB now, but fuck. I'm mad.
We come to find out that Jeff Johns did play a role in the whole Ray Fisher, Snyder saga. If you go read the Variety piece, which I think we mentioned this, and I won't go into detail. I had a lot of respect for Jeff Johns when he just kickstarted the entire Green Lantern universe in comics,
and he also wrote a lot of really good Flash stuff too.
Flash stories, really good Flash stories, and just to hear that about how he played politics with Warner Brothers is just like, wouldn't the person that kind of fought against the machine to innovate comic stories would kind of do the same thing with the movies, but this is with the benefit of hindsight here. You mentioned setting up the movies. They didn't have a plan like Marvel. I don't think people give Marvel a lot of credit, because when Iron Man came out, they put that Easter egg at the end of it. They put Shield in there just a little. They sprinkled in the universe because they didn't know, is this
there
thing
was
gonna
no
bomb?
promises made when they made Iron
Like,
Man.
Robert Downey Jr., he was unhireable. They couldn't get it. No studios could get an insurance policy on the guy. He had to sign off a lot of stuff in that first movie. And Terrence Howard was the highest paid actor on that film.
Yeah.
Coming off with Hustle and Flow, winning an Oscar there. And so there was no guarantees, but they said, look, just in case, we're gonna put the Easter egg at the back end. We're gonna sprinkle in a couple little things here in the movie, like with Shield, just in case we can go forward with the universe. And it went well. It didn't explode. Remember, the numbers weren't great, like they weren't amazing for Iron Man, but they were good.
Yeah.
But at
Especially
least they
compared
had
to
a
Hulk.
plan. And then when Hulk came out, they're like, okay, let's sprinkle just a little bit more, because Paramount technically owns the Hulk, but we can work something out with him in an ensemble. I think at that point, I don't think Feige was in charge. I think it still Avi
That wasn't
Arad
Marvel. Yeah, it was him. It was
It
It was not Marvel.
Avi Arad
It was
in charge.
Marvel
No, one more.
Studios, but
No,
not
yeah.
Disney owned Marvel Studios.
No, it wasn't a full. It was just Marvel Films, I think, is what they started off as.
Yeah.
And then they changed themselves to Marvel Studios, but they weren't like a full-fledged production studio. They were just like a brand to cover their Marvel content, their IPs.
hmm
And Avi Arad was there because he had his success with Spider-Man. He helped push the X-Men over to Fox to make a ton of money, whatever. But but they sprinkled in just enough, and then when Iron Man 2 came out, they're like, okay, let's go forward with it all. Let's go forward with it. By that point, we were already casting for Thor. We were begging Chris Evans multiple times to come in and be Captain America. Like,
Yes.
they were like, okay, we didn't bottleneck Iron Man 1 so much to where we couldn't create a universe, but at the same time, we didn't want to give it all out. I think Dawn of Justice was the Ultimate Edition did a better job of because if you watch the original print of Dawn of Justice, you felt like, okay, they were trying way too hard to put an Avengers
Yes.
team out there.
It was too rushed.
Yeah, and then the Ultimate Cut made it feel a little smoother. This was better because you actually had an introduction, character development of everyone there, including a much better story of Flash and Cyborg. I think we mentioned this in our sidebar, like when we talked about this with Chris. I think the biggest thing I noticed was there still was a lack of full introduction of Aquaman, and I think that's probably because I think by the time Snyder, he and his wife had to bow out because of the passing of their daughter and the stress of things 2 months into the whole where they were at of the project. I think that's where that's where things were left. Like, they were about to head into post, but I think they were wrapping up by doing Aquaman's backstory in this whole piece, and they just never got to it because it's not there. You could tell it's just boom. I'm going to Atlantia, and just have to be there.
Yeah.
But I like the part where you get it, because I did ask, where did he get the armor and the the trident.
Yeah.
In the original theatrical cut, it's like, okay, I needed that scene. That was
Yeah.
important because it shows me where he got it from. From a guy that refused to accept his half heritage. It's like, where did he get the armor from? Okay, that makes perfect sense now.
Yeah.
Perfect, you know?
And I would say a counter to that is I don't know if they were because he plays the brooding, mysterious guy.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
that's not Batman's role. It's usually Batman's role in these movies. In
Yeah.
typical superhero DC stuff is Batman is that guy in the shadows who doesn't say much, but when he does, it means something. Whereas in this case, that's Aquaman. And
Yeah.
then we lay the groundwork for what's coming with Aquaman, which was basically right on the heels of this movie, the original
Yeah.
cut, at least of this movie, or second cut of this movie. I don't know what we would say is original, because Whedon's
Just
such a
theatrical.
Frankenstein of something that was dead and then not.
Yeah,
So
the
weird.
theatrical cut, it was, yeah.
So it's just so bizarre. But yeah, like for me, we can get into some of the specifics here now. So yeah, basically, we're gonna go into some full spoilers here.
Sure.
Not some full spoilers, all full spoilers. You don't want
Let's
to hear any, go watch the movie. It's 4 hours. Block out your time. Make some food. Take a break. You know, you got to get through it.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of our favorite differences before we spend half an hour just talking about the movie just as kind of this ethereal thing.
Okay.
So, of course, for me, the biggest difference right off the bat for me is Batman's story doesn't suck. In the original cut, I believe, and I didn't watch this on purpose because fuck that movie, Batman fights a parademon on a roof and it's like, oh, the enemy's here. Oh, shit. Doesn't happen.
No.
Nope, fuck that. It's been 3 months. Superman's dead. He's still trying to find allies. Which is exactly where we left. You know, like that's a direct pickup from where we left. Which makes sense from Batman versus Superman. What we got in Whedon's cut was like, why the fuck is he fighting a parademon on a roof? Who gives a shit? Who the fuck? It's too much right off the bat. And it doesn't make any sense with what comes later and the whole they smell fear thing. What the fuck? We don't get that at all. He's showing up. He's already knows who Aquaman is. He doesn't play like, oh, I don't know who you are game with Aquaman. He just fucking knows. Right? And there's no weird mural on the wall painting the whole story for Bruce Wayne in this fucking Icelandic village that wouldn't have existed and whose culture wouldn't have existed the last time Darkseid was on Earth. But it all makes way more sense, is what I'm getting from that. Like, literally from the jump, you're like, oh, it makes sense now. From the jump, you just feel it in the story compared to what was in the theatrical. So, that's my favorite difference in terms of the cohesiveness of the story. Man, it all flows. It doesn't all flow perfectly. There's definitely some moments of resistance, like the fucking minute and a half of Norse singing, Viking singing or whatever.
Weird.
So fucking weird coming out of that Aquaman scene. That's the thing that could be cut. You know, like we didn't need any of that. It takes about 3 minutes for the whole shot because it's like slow-mo over the water, voice singing, and then you pan around to more and more singers from the village coming down to sing, and it's like, why? And because he's supposed to be this character, Aquaman, that sleeps in a different village every night. Why would they give a shit about him other than he's just this weird dude who came in and saved their town?
Especially when he hangs out at their fucking local pub every other night or whatever.
He's the town drunk who can lift a ship. Like, why would they come down and sing like he's God? Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's so weird. Didn't need any of that.
You're right. That's 2 minutes that we could have carved off.
Yeah.
2 minutes definitely there. Yeah.
Right? And we cut to Lois grieving, and that's, again, she walks in slow-mo heels, and we see in slow-mo the fucking, like, what was that cappuccino or whatever, frappe art get made? We didn't need that shit.
Yeah, that's true.
You just show her walking out of a coffee shop in regular speed. There's about 3 more minutes you could shave off this movie. Right the fuck there. Like, there's so much time that you're like, okay, some of the slow-mo, some of these shots, not necessary. Other moments that were, of course, a key difference. Number one, Cyborg gets such a massive character arc.
Yep.
Still a little angsty, for my opinion, but I mean, given the backstory that we show, Cyborg's kind of should be. It's pretty dark.
Yep.
And they could have got a lot darker because we don't see anything that happens to the mom, like in some of the incarnations of Cyborg's live action and cartoon characters and comic book versions we've gotten.
Yep.
This shit gets dark. So I'm glad they didn't show all that because they could have, because this is definitely rated R, definitely rated R cut. And of course, the Flash gets to be the Flash. Like he's not just token Whedon joke line guy.
And then a goofy runner, things like that. Like he's struggling with his powers.
Yeah,
We've established that he knows what to do. Like he knows how to break fucking glass. He
yeah.
knows how to he knows how to flash phase. Like these are skills that he's learned along the way. Okay, so he's been doing this and he's
Yeah.
been practicing his
He's no
powers.
longer the rookie of I've never saved anyone.
Exactly.
It's like if you've never saved anyone in the Whedon cut, how do you have that suit?
Yep.
Like how did you learn you needed to go that fast for a reason to make that suit? Like
Yep.
why? That doesn't fit. So bizarre. Much like the whole Whedon cut itself. So Fusion, those two are two of the differences I enjoyed greatly because we're not going to get huge into the plot like point for point. We don't
No.
have 5 hours like the Kind of Funny guys.
Sure.
Oh my god, 4.5 hours for that review. Holy shit.
4.5 hours.
I didn't
for a
watch it all.
4-hour
I only
TV movie.
watched like 20 minutes. But what were some of your big takeaways for big key differences for you?
The introduction. I mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to stick with this. The Whedon cut was the cell phone video with the boys talking with Superman, and then we jump into
Oh, I forgot about that.
Batman fighting a parademon. That was literally the fucking intro of the movie, which made no sense because it was like he knew something was coming, and all of a sudden this parademon, whatever this thing was, it's coming now. Okay, whatever. Kind of dumb. But showing how the mother boxes affected the world through Superman's death I thought was great. I thought it was great. His shout when he died with Doomsday, and that shout carried across the entire world into all of the areas, different areas into Atlanta, into the Themyscira, everywhere, and the mother box is all open because of it. I thought that was great. I was like, that's fucking brilliant right there, because you're tying in Superman to the mother boxes. Let's go, because later on, the bringing him back to this is another point. The bringing him back to life thing, it it felt like a team effort and a team decision, and they were all like in unison about what needed to be done to win to beat Steppenwolf. That I liked, rather than, what are we gonna do? Well, we can use it to bring. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Don't tell me. Like it was just like instead of that, it was Flash going like, I think we're all thinking the same thing here. And I think one of us needs to say it out loud. I'm like, fuck yeah,
And then
like this is
and then the hologram of Superman flying up. Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect
yep,
moment. I could have used the
yep.
John Williams theme right there.
That would have been
That
great,
would have been
right?
so great. Yeah, that
Like
would have been
the
awesome.
slower one, the real just that really slow one before it kicks in all the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the very
Um,
intro trumpet. Oh,
yeah.
that'd have been
I
great.
That was great. And then for me, the biggest thing was like I will agree with you. Having a full flesh backstory for Cyborg was great because it made sense to the movie. For me, it was obviously the CGI improvement, but the entire backstory and the remodeling and restructuring and retelling of Steppenwolf.
Oh,
That he
yes.
wasn't the one that came to Earth when the Age of Heroes fought him. It wasn't him. That was fucking Darkseid with the actual, creation equation,
Yeah, he was
the
trying to get the
equation,
anti-life equation, which
anti-life equation.
DC nerd, fuck yeah, but we never get the explanation.
No, we don't get the explanation, which is I think there should have been a little bit of that. Like we cut some areas and we talk about the anti-life
Mhm.
equation. But just watching that does throw up a question. Okay, so that happened what at least 3 or 4 thousand years ago, right? Maybe even 5,000 years ago is when that battle happened with Darkseid. Okay, so in the last 5,000 years, we haven't had a Green Lantern Defender of Earth in that whole 5,000 years. I mean, that's a little odd to me because that ring took off, but I guess our sector was covered by a different planet. I don't know. Fuck it. You're talking to a big Green Lantern honk here, and it just
Mhm.
kind of upsets me to think that okay, so we don't have a Green Lantern for 5,000 years, but it's mentioned multiple times because like Darkseid does tell him, or was it Steppenwolf that said
Steppenwolf
there
says
is
no lanterns here.
no lanterns here? I was like, oh fuck yeah, dude! Like keep going, man. Let's do this because had this movie come out, then the next thing would have been let's have a fucking Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, and then that would have got into why has there not been a lantern for the sector at least,
For
right?
sector, I forget the sector
28
28.
2814, I think like that. I think it's
I was
2814.
2814. Yeah, 2014. For almost 5,000 years, we haven't had a protector. Like, what's going on? We need to know what happened there. But anyway, I think Steppenwolf, the intro, the beginning was great, but I just really liked how they improved just how Steppenwolf looked, but his story was there was a purpose to it, and that was to fulfill a desire to please his master, which was Darkseid. And I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really quick. That's how you can tell a story quickly, but tell it well. Like,
Yeah.
you get that, oh, he fucked over Darkseid, and
Yep.
Darkseid's justifiably mad because the character understands. You have the
Mhm.
character be like, I get it. Like, I fucked up. My bad. And have him actually work to rectifying it, which in this case is killing our world, but it's his motivation. It makes sense. Which is the overarching thing for me is, oh, it just makes sense. Not particularly perfect. There's some things I would tweak, but more or less it makes sense.
But it
Outside of the
nerfed it
weird
nerfed
Zack Snyderisms, like the fucking
but
Viking
in the
singing.
Whedon cut, it nerfed it, but the Snyder cut, it nerfed Steppenwolf because
Yes.
you watch that battle from 5,000 years ago, you're essentially saying that Steppenwolf was somebody that was just as powerful as Darkseid, you know?
Mm,
And now you're basically saying in the Snyder cut, nope, Darkseid is a mammoth of just a mammoth of power, and but he has he has his subservience go out there and do his bidding, and this is Steppenwolf is doing the same thing to get those mother boxes back. Okay, that feels better, So they didn't feel like it was because when you watch the end of Whedon cut, you're like, okay, this guy took on hundreds of thousands, if not thousands, of heroes from different sectors of the planet, and he managed to beat them, but he's not going to be able to beat six heroes here.
exactly.
That didn't make a lot of sense in that movie, but here it makes a lot more sense in Snyder Cut. Yeah,
Yep. So, other points that were very different for me, I left my note sheet at work, so I'm kind of retooling this up on the
just
fly.
winging, man.
I'm definitely winging it. But for me, it's like the smaller moments, like Superman on the farm. Like, you get
Okay.
the sense that he's starting to remember who he was. It's
Mhm.
no longer just I'm back, I'm crazy, Lois, back, right? Like, you actually get he's working through it. I would have liked to stay with him more consistently up until he leaves the farm, and then we get back to the Justice League story going to Russia. The timing just felt a little wonky because it went
Yeah,
like Superman leaving to the farm, regroup at the cave, going to Russia, back to Superman. They're in Russia. I would have liked to kind of break that up a little bit more by staying with Superman. Maybe a little bit more. I get why they need the time difference because Martha shows up and she wouldn't have known to show up that way because Superman flew. Like,
yep,
I get
yep.
why in universe it doesn't work, but I think it would have flowed a little better for the Superman side because, and for me, one of my favorite things about Justice League was that Heroes trailer. That last trailer
Okay,
that came out before the movie was
yeah,
full of these Snyder shots. That's what's so damning for the Whedon cut. If they were just like, fuck it, we'll use Snyder stuff in the marketing. Like, that's to me what really grinds my gears maybe the most about the Whedon cut is that they used all of his marketing shit to be like, this is gonna be hype as fuck. And then we got what we got. But so I take it that's a yes. And then she's like, what? Like the ring. Like, like
yeah.
you get, he's back. It's Superman, he's back. And just him talking to Lois. You get it. It just works so much better. And then the whole thing, which was of course set to David Bowie's Heroes. Oh, what a fucking trailer that was. This is the movie that goes with that trailer. And it's so much better. I hope some fans like recut it to be like, here's the actual Snyder film we got, and here's that trailer again, but better. I'd be all down for that because that was a
I'm sure
dope
someone
fucking
will.
trailer.
I'm sure that'll happen. Yeah,
Still one of my favorite superhero movie trailers. Not quite up there with the Infinity War trailer with the there was an idea. Oh fuck, that's so good. But that was really cool. Like, I just really liked how much more sensical Superman's resurrection makes. It's no longer, hey, we went like it's basically midnight to now it's noon the next day. Like,
yeah,
there's a sense of time that passes. They're arguing about what to do. We get the introduction to Barry's like timey-wimey bullshit, which is peak Flash. Damn it, Barry, you broke time. Like, which is very much CW Flash moment right there.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
timeline broke. Damn it, Barry. Like, it's kind of a running joke in the Arrowverse, but I mean that's the Flash. Like, the dude kind of breaks time
Yep.
because he's the Flash. And I really like you said, that it's very much a team decision. There's still some discord. Like, Aquaman's like, I told you this was a bad idea, but he still went along with it because it's like, yeah, we kind of need him because he's Superman. But he's very much like, if we need to put him down, I'll kill him kind of guy.
Yeah.
But the fight that they have makes a little more sense. We don't get that stupid, like, tell me, do you bleed with CGI.
Face.
Did something just fall off my house?
Uh oh.
That was fucking loud.
Uh-oh.
I don't hear anybody screaming, so we must be fine.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you heard that at all. It
I
was
didn't
like
hear
somebody broke a
anything.
plate or something. Right below me, which is where the kitchen is. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, like the CGI lip Superman totally gone. Ah, so much better. If this is the last time we get to see Henry Cavill as Superman, at least he doesn't look like shit.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's not. I hope we get more Henry Cavill Superman because my
We got
God, could that
black
man play
suit
Superman?
Superman. And we got black suit Superman, which was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like we got to see the different like Superman suits like show up in the ship, like
Yep.
which we didn't get last time. Did we?
I gotta ask, you may have noticed it. Who was the body? Who was the body that Flash was looking at?
That's the thing. Everyone that I was talking about this movie, which is another like it's a theory for me. I really wish he'd answered it, especially if he knew it was his last rodeo, which it seems like he did. He hinted in Man of Steel, in the movie and the prequel comic, that open pod was shot multiple times for a reason.
Okay.
That there was a Kryptonian on Earth. Because seen a lot of places. Well, how did the Mother Box know Superman died? Why were they asleep the whole time? Well, because he only was alive for 30 some years on Earth.
Yep.
Why were they
Me too.
always asleep? My theory is that particular Kryptonian either died or left Earth while Superman was on Earth, and the Boxers just didn't fucking know it was a different Kryptonian. Right? Like, if he'd had answered that thread, it'd have tied up so much of the plot in regards to the Mother Boxes. Because then you could start weaving that story of like, okay, who was that Kryptonian? Were they play acting as a god? Like, are they involved in Diana's backstory? Like, are they involved with Hippolyta? Like, what is the connection there? Because in universe, a Kryptonian survived on that ship and got out off the escape ship and was on Earth 20,000 years ago.
Yep.
Which definitely could play into the whole god stuff. Which is like, that would have been so fucking cool. Which also means that she would have been there, that Kryptonian, which in the prequel comic was a woman of the House of El,
Sure.
would have been there for the fight against Darkseid. Like, how dope would that have been? Like, she could have been there, and you could have shown it as a huge thing where she's the one that comes in, not Ares with an axe. It's a Kryptonian with the fucking heat vision, just like, damn, you're taking his head off.
Yep.
And that's why he's so freaked out about Kryptonians on Earth, which is why Darkseid stayed the fuck away. You don't have to be, oh, he left and just lost Earth. He left because he got his ass beat by an immortal super being who would kill him if he came back. That would have been such a great tie-up of that particular thread and made things make even more sense. And I'm kind of sad he didn't do it.
Yeah, that stood out to me, because you have that frame shot and Barry's just staring at that corpse, and it's like
The shot after, you see the open pod again. Like, it's on
open
frame.
pod.
He shot it on purpose to have
It's
it
like
be center fucking frame.
there's something that's supposed to have been there. Yes.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was going to, because he had 2 more movies planned.
Yep, he did.
I wonder if that was a to come later plot point, and he's just not going to talk about it because he's never going to get to do it. But man, it sure felt like there was a lot of smoke there for nothing.
Right.
Yeah, and that wasn't a smoke because of smoke and mirrors. That was a smoke because something was on fucking fire right there.
Yep, I agree.
And it would have been so cool to see. Obviously, we're getting a Supergirl in the Flash movie, but it'd have been really cool to have another Kryptonian be on Earth the whole time. And like how that could have interplayed with Earth's history. That'd have been cool as fuck. In very DC Comics.
Yeah.
So Fusion, what's another like big takeaway from you from the movie? What like stood out to you? Anything bad that stood out to you for this cut?
No, well, I'm gonna say something. Another positive for me was just in the final battle, how they really built up Flash, Barry Allen. I really enjoyed it. He was gearing up to really hit the Mother Boxes with the Jolt of Power, but then he gets hurt. But then he realizes when everything goes to shit, he has to move back in time. And watching that whole scene of moving back in time I thought was really good. I thought that was really fucking good because it makes you think, because he knows I've never done this before. I don't know how to hold this charge. Like, I've never had this much charge in me. And then he just realizes, what is he going to do now? Because it's all ending. Fuck it. I'm just going to run so fucking fast. I'm going to move everything back in time a couple seconds. I thought that was really badass. I thought that was badass. That was a positive for me. Negative was I thought, we got our Martian Manhunter um, cameos twice, and I thought it could have been a little bit better because at the end, with him going out to Bruce's lake house and talking to him about, I'm going to get involved now. It's like, where the fuck were you when we needed you the most? And that was fighting,
Yeah.
keeping Darkseid from coming from Apocalypse, and killing Steppenwolf. Where the fuck were you then? Where were you? Were you as the general just watching this shit take place? Really? Like that's what, if I was Bruce Wayne, that's what I would say was like, okay, we could have used you a day ago, bro. Like
Yeah.
we really could have used you then. So I liked the fact that we get this cameo, but I didn't like how the conversation with Bruce at the end went, where it was just basically like, yeah, going forward, you can count on me. I'm like, yeah, I didn't like that. Didn't like that at all.
And for me, I actually wouldn't have minded as a tag at the end of a theatrical cut. That'd have been fine.
Okay.
The whole nightmare thing for me feels super tacked on because he knew it was his last ride. Might as well throw
Yeah,
it all in there.
obviously.
In an edited better cut, I don't think it's all in there. I think it's maybe chopped up and framed more. Oh, this is a really fucked up dream he's having. Possibly real, but they played it more like it was all going to definitively happen. I'd have liked it to be played up more as this was the premonition he got and he can't stop dreaming about it. But it's not
Okay.
necessarily real. And then maybe you have Martian Manhunter show up in the dream because he's Martian Manhunter, and of course he can.
Yep.
That'd have made a little more sense as a way to tag a movie in the post credits for me. And the other part, his initial conversation with Lois didn't have to be as Martha. He could have just showed up as the general because the general knows Lois.
Yep.
Like that was in the last movie. Like that to me kind of feels like because of COVID thing. I think that initial conversation in the apartment between Martha and Lois was legit supposed to be in Snyder's vision, but he recontextualized it by adding the scene in the hallway.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is
that.
how when he turns into Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
I think again, without COVID being a thing, I think that would have played different. I don't think we would have seen that scene if not for COVID. I think we would have got a scene with General Swanwick and Lois, like maybe at the planet. Maybe we get a scene with Perry because we didn't. Like maybe he meets Lois. Maybe the general calls Lois into the planet, and like Perry knew all along that Superman was Clark. Something like that. I think without for COVID, there would have been a few more changes Snyder would have made, but because that scene didn't jive with me, but he did need to introduce him for the post-credit scene to make sense.
Sure.
Like it just didn't work quite as well as I would have liked. Another thing I didn't like so much and I'll end on a positive, but this is the one thing I didn't, was that he didn't use anything Whedon did. There was one scene where I was like, okay, Whedon, that fucking worked. And that's the conversation between Diana and Bruce in the cave after the fight with Superman.
Okay.
I think you could have made that scene work before the fight with Superman. You don't need to include the whole Diana popping the shoulder in. But like maybe Bruce is hesitant, or maybe Diana is hesitant to like lead and step up and bring Superman back. And Batman's like, no, we need him because Clark's more human than me. He's better than me. I can't lead this team. You should have led this team, which he says to Diana in the theatrical, but you didn't. You sat on your ass. Right?
Yep.
Like Whedon makes Batman make that point, and it's a damn good one. It works. It could have worked in this movie too, and made things a little better. Make that decision have more weight. Because you have Diana realize, oh, I messed up too. Like, I really screwed up. It wasn't just Bruce that let him die. I did too. I could have been here the whole time. And have that actually, like, impact her, more than the whole, I'm trying to open back up to Cyborg.
Sure.
That was something he could have used. But I understand the reasons for not wanting to look at anything Whedon did. Given his relationship with Warner Brothers and the project as a whole, I understand Snyder not wanting to do that. I just wish someone would have been like, hey, you should maybe try to make this scene work or reshoot it, because we know Affleck and Gal came back to shoot stuff.
Sure.
I would have liked to seen a retouch of that shot and that scene in this version. I think it actually would have been even better. But then the thing I liked also in the post stuff, man, he fixed Eisenberg's Luthor.
Right.
Like, it works. Like, I want to see a movie with that Lex Luthor.
Right.
And he used the perfect... Oh, yeah, basically, because of Arkham, I got better. Like Arkham changed him, which is a great in-universe hand wave for yeah, we know he sucked, but now he doesn't, right? And we get a great scene. We get more stuff with Deathstroke, like, oh yeah, I know who Batman is, and you get why. You understand. Oh, he's got history with Batman. I
Yep.
want to see that shit. Like,
Yep.
there's so much more shit where you're like, I want to see where this goes, and we're probably not going to see it, which definitely
Yep.
sucks.
That was going to be the lead into the original Matt Reeves Affleck the Batman
Exactly. Yeah.
was the battle with Deathstroke, the whole
Mhm.
mind game with Slade Wilson. That would have been great. That would have
So
been
awesome.
Oh man, but yeah, I agree with you. That was the biggest thing I had. The biggest problem. One of the biggest problems I had with Dawn of Justice was psychotic Lex Luthor. It just really bothered me.
Yeah,
And
because
then
that's not Lex Luthor.
that's not Lex Luthor. No, it's even keeled, hyper intelligent, but egomaniacal at the same time. And having him just like I'm gonna jump around and say catchy things and
Put a Jolly
like
Rancher in someone's mouth.
Jolly Rancher. That was so fucking
What the
awkward.
fuck?
But and then just having Lois on the rooftop of that building and just telling her, what was the you're insane. And he said, what was his response to that?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
Joe.
thank you.
You're psychotic. Like
You're
psychotic is like some syllable word for people with too small of minds. That's a
Yeah.
great Lex Luthor line, but not from that Lex Luthor. Like,
No, 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 no.
yeah,
If it would have been like, smooth talking, like very calm and collected that said that, I would buy into something like that. But we were dealing with so like psychopathic, like Joker style Lex Luthor, and
yeah,
I really didn't like that. But seeing him at the back end of here, laid back and cool, sitting back, in the suit, leg propped up and just having a drink. I liked that. I'm like, okay,
yes.
now we can move forward. If the Snyderverse moved on, I wouldn't mind seeing a Superman with Brainiac and Lex Luthor in there.
Mhm. So speaking of the Snyderverse, before we transition into our little Falcon and Winter Soldier talk, I wanted to
Sure.
keep that section a little smaller because it's more episodic, and we're going to have more episodes to talk about down the road. But speaking of the Snyderverse, what is your speculation on what DC does with this? Because it,
Well,
by all accounts, seems to be a smash critical success. Oh, thank God we see it. Like, it's some people, still have the hang-ups about that it even exists because of the fan campaign. But by and large, anecdotally, I don't know a single friend of ours that has watched, at least mutual friends, that has
yeah.
watched it and not liked it. Like, everyone
I
is
have,
like, oh, this is way better.
I'll admit
Everyone is saying that.
I have one coworker that wasn't a fan of it. He said, it didn't really hit me, but he is someone that I have to converse with regularly about giving him comic book content because he doesn't know where to go. Like it's just like he's interested in comics, but it's just like not a natural thing for him to find things. So I always have to tell him read Born Again and then go watch season 3 of Daredevil or do this. Go Executioner Song's a good storyline, in the X-Men saga from the 90s. I have to go kind of point him into directions constantly. So for him to go like, I wasn't really a big fan of it. Okay, that's fine. I get it. It's not for everybody. But I think, mutually everyone we've talked with have all said, even Jackie, who,
Yes.
like
She's
she's not
who
a
I was
big
going to ask, and I ended up not because I didn't know what time we were going to start for sure. But I was like, oh man, I'd love to get a complete novice on comics take on this movie. So, like, out there.
And one day we need to have her on to talk about Winter Soldier because she's never seen that movie, and that's a constant joke between us. Is
Oh
that
my God.
she's never seen the Winter Soldier, the greatest to me, the
It's maybe
greatest
the most
Marvel movie.
perfect superhero movie to date.
Yeah, and
It's
she's never,
perfect.
but yeah, that's the joke. That's the ongoing joke. But like just all that aside, look, I think we it's created a bit of a conundrum now because Warner Brothers is in a bit of a pickle. They're going to have to be the fans' response overwhelmingly is positive, not like it's a perfect movie, but it's a good movie.
Hmm.
And we were denied the two Justice League sequels because
Yep,
of
because he
everything
had a
that took place.
5 movie deal.
Yeah. So yeah, honestly, Warburg, I saw something last week that there is a rumor that they're talking to him, initial conversations of him doing Wonder Woman 3.
As a
I
producer,
don't know as directing it, taking it over
taking it
from
from
Patty
Patty
Jenkins.
Jenkins, that's not going to go over well. Don't fucking do
Did
that, DC.
did she sign a two picture sequel
She's
deal?
she's already on the books as director.
Okay,
So if they pull
okay.
a Thor 2 and take her from the project, I think Gal's gone.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that.
Well, I mean, at this point,
And
we
I
don't know
think
what's going to happen
she's
with
a good enough
Cavill.
director. Rein her in a little bit. Plus, when that movie was being made, Warner Brothers was in a lot of upheaval in terms of on the who's the president and who's in charge of content stuff. They were very unstable post Justice League for good reason. They almost should have put a pause on making movies that wasn't Aquaman because it was so far down the road, like in production. So that's a whole story. But man, I don't know if he comes back, but
you know what? You know what? I'm going to call this. This is all. If he comes back or not, it's going to be contingent on how good and how well received, if it is at all, Suicide Squad is going to be. If it's
I forgot about that movie.
We know it's a James Gunn movie, man.
Oh my God.
Come on.
I straight up forgot about that movie.
What if it's a good movie and then they decide to throw a big load of cash to James Gunn to just take over the Snyderverse? You know,
I could see that, but my prediction is they say fuck it, keep most of the cast for the future projects. Flashpoint goes fucking now. They got everything cast from what I've seen. At least the main leads.
Yeah.
And I think you go Supergirl in the Superman role of that story, but you don't have her be like so fucked up as the Flashpoint story gets. Because that Superman's messed up. Like, I don't even, Henry Cavill like wouldn't play that role. I can't imagine him in that role. And I don't know if you want him to be, but having a Supergirl show up and then have post Flashpoint him find Supergirl, who exists now as Supergirl in this new universe, and they're immediately friends. Like, that works. But you use Flashpoint to be like, fuck it, we're going to reset everything, keep what worked, which was mostly the cast, and blow everything else up. Then bring in new blood to move on from there. Because the looks of the characters, dope as fuck. I could quibble with Cyborg's stuff, but his changes so often in different incarnations, it's hard to pick a definitive design for Cyborg. You know, he's not Superman, right? Like, it's not S, blue, and cape. You know? He's a little harder to pin down. But, like, the look, the cast, you know, their chemistry, their interaction with each other. Of course, Ray Fisher's probably not coming back for anything DC. But everyone else seems to be. I think you get Flashpoint. That should be the next thing, which is supposedly it is. Make sure it fucking happens. And that it sets up a future universe with some of these characters we've already gotten introduced to. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is all going to be contingent on what happens with Suicide Squad. If it's a good movie and it's well received, I think DC says, okay, let's try to fix this and maintain what we have now, this universe.
Because like you mentioned, just to circle back a little bit as a segue into Marvel, you mentioned Marvel's, you know, they didn't initially have like a definitive plan.
No.
But they found a lane and they fucking nailed it.
Yep.
To paraphrase you. But DC has gone similarly. They didn't really have a great plan. We're muddling through. They see a plan and they fucking bailed.
Yeah.
That's what happened. They saw a plan and were like, nah. And they wasted how many tens of millions of dollars of time, productivity, you know, like people's, like the logistics of just people's careers, like making stuff that never comes out. Like, that's all really fucked up because they bailed on the plan.
Yeah.
I hope they maybe get back on course a little bit with a plan for the universe. Like, fucking do something with it. Like, maybe you bring in architects, like maybe a Bruce Timm, you know, someone who's overseen a universe before on TV and with regards to these characters in cartoons. But the guy gets DC Comics, gets them really well. And
but Jeff Johns was
Johns is a lot younger though. Like Tim's been around a while, you know, like a while, and he's still making stuff. Like, he wasn't involved in. He did Gods and Monsters, which was a really interesting Elseworld Superman story. I actually really liked that. Did he do Batman, Nightwing, and Harley Quinn one? That, like,
I don't know if he did that one, but isn't he like an executive producer on Harley Quinn?
Yeah, like he's still involved in stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like he hasn't been like quite ostracized like Paul Dini has, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because it still freaks me out. He didn't write Arkham Knight. He did the first two, not the third. I knew that and forgot about it, and I was like, what the? That's fucking weird.
It's one of those things that doesn't sit with you till later on. You're like, wait a
It's one
minute.
of those things where it's like
Come
Hollywood
on.
executives, just in general, get your head out of your ass sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I get wanting it's your project, it's your thing, and the writer is just working on it. Sometimes let the people who know what the fuck they're doing do what the fuck they know how to do.
Well, we talked about this last episode, I think, briefly, but they're talking about doing a Zatanna TV show, right, on
I actually
HBO
saw it
Max
was being floated as a movie.
as a movie. But it's going to be an HBO Max movie. It's not going to be like a
Yeah, it's going to
major.
be
Yeah,
I would imagine more like a Deadpool 1 style
yeah.
funding, like 70-ish
Yeah.
million.
It cracks me up because these are the guys that 7 years ago said on a conference call a woman superhero will never lead a superhero film. Like a female hero will never lead will be a lead the lead of a superhero film, a major production, and just now they're looking for ways to squeeze them in wherever they can, and it
And
cracks
they're
me up.
sitting on fucking Batgirl.
I know, man.
Oh my god. Next to Wonder Woman, maybe the most famous female superhero character. Sitting on her. What the fuck? What are you doing?
I know.
Okay.
I know.
But
All
let's move on to Marvel. We've talked a shitload about Snyder Cut, which it kind of deserved because it's 4 fucking hours. But we're going to move on to Marvel a little bit. One last DC note, though. Also, we forgot to mention they have cast all the Shazam sequel too. So I'm not sure if they ever bring that into this new continuity. I don't know, because it technically kind of stands on its own. It's just in a world where a Justice League exists. You could spin it as. So if they want to keep doing the separate universes, they can. But I'm curious if they end up bringing that over via cameo or something. That'd be interesting. But yeah, because they had I forgot I noticed they cast Helen Mirren, but I wanted to mention that, and she should play Demeter.
Oh, it's a good one. I like.
She would be an awesome. Like if you want to actually do something with the Greek gods lines in DC stories, she'd be a great cast for that. But that's
Fury of the Gods. Yeah.
Heck
Fury
yeah.
of the Gods sequel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could see like a Kate Blanchett being Hera or something.
Okay. Yeah,
That'd be dope.
That's good.
That'd be dope. But moving on to Marvel, we have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which premiered on Disney Plus the Friday right after Snyder Cut. It was just the pilot episode, so they're doing 6 total episodes, roughly 45 minutes apiece, give or take. Some more traditional TV length versus WandaVision. So, Fusion, what was your thoughts on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I'm not even going to go the meme route when we're talking about Avengers paychecks because that's obviously.
I kind of passed through the bank scene. I hate scenes like that. I kind of fast forwarded.
It's awkward for one, but it's two. It does raise a lot of questions, but it becomes a meme, and I just got frustrated with the running jokes that just became redundant with that. The big thing that stood out for me was this was obviously, you could tell this was shot before, or this was supposed to air before WandaVision. That was obviously the focus of this one. But not a whole lot, man. Honestly, we're just catching up with the two characters. We're catching up with them, and then the big reveal for me wasn't until the very end when we get the new Captain America. That's it. That's really it. Not a whole lot to really think about. Just their days in the lives of both Bucky and Sam's struggle with taking over the shield, and then just all of that, and we just move on. That's really it. Like I know it's going to get a lot better. We're going to get a lot more into like a Winter Soldier style, like the movie Winter Soldier style feel for this series. And I think the next 5 episodes will probably see more of that, and it'll start with whatever Sam's response to seeing the new Captain America, like what the fuck at the end. But not a whole lot for me. It wasn't awful, but it was a lot like the first episode of WandaVision, where it's just like, okay, all right, we're going in an interesting route, but not a whole lot happened here.
I wish they would have done what WandaVision did and actually put the first 2 episodes out simultaneously.
This one probably needed that
because this feels like part 1 of the pilot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. Just felt like, okay, pacing was fine, the action was good, the character catch up great, and then it was like, okay, this story really doesn't have a whole lot of going on here for 45 minutes, and then the last few, okay, boom, here's our arc. This is our arc. But maybe this shouldn't have been a 6-episode show. Maybe it should have been 7 or 8, and the first 2 were the first.
Maybe a lot of shows do a 2-part premiere.
Yeah,
like that. I think would have worked a little better. And again, that may change once we see episode 2. You got to see where you got to kind of judge in retrospect after you see what follows. judging something that's in episodic format, as part of a continuing story, judging one episode by itself is tough because what follows will impact how you feel about what came before. I was joking about this with the Kind of Funny review, but they watched the first half to only comment on the first half. Like, well, that doesn't work because you have to see the whole thing to really comment on the setup. Because what if the setup really pays off down the road?
Exactly.
But you're complaining the setup sucks.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what the payoff is.
Yep.
And maybe the payoff justifies what you sat through, right? And I think in Justice League, the Snyder Cut, it does. So, like, doing it that way, I'm hesitant to say, oh, it was too slow because we don't know where they're going. But I understand, like, yeah, it's really slow.
Well, Bucky and Sam didn't even see, they weren't
like
even
their lives aren't connected really.
And
yet.
So you're saying, okay, we have five more episodes to tie them together. 5 more.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, so was that first episode really that important then?
Yeah. Like that could have just been something that aired and then that's like the prologue.
Yeah.
And then it's, episode 1 is Bucky seeing the news of someone took Cap's shield. And he calls Sam to be like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Like,
yeah.
It feels like there's going to be ramifications for what happened, but like you said, it's just not quite what I was hoping for right away. Got some cool shit though. Like that whole fight with Falcon, the whole flight thing, that felt right out of a movie. Like that felt awesome. Looked great. Really only a few shots was like, TV budget. Or streaming TV budget. But for accounting that, it looked great. And we got to see Batroc again. That was a great callback to Winter Soldier. And we got the Winter Soldier theme during his whole dream sequence. I love that theme. It is so just it just kind of makes you kind of a little cringe a little bit because it's so it's high pitched.
Yeah.
And how it it's a really high pitched string going off, of a string instrument. It's just man, you feel like, oh yeah, some shit's going down. He's here to murder some people, and he just fucking murders everybody. Great action set piece set in a dream sequence. Bucky in therapy is a great way to introduce where he's at now. We don't start with him out in the world. We start with him in therapy.
Yeah,
makes total sense.
He's been completely pardoned for everything.
Yeah, it's a great way to deliver exposition in rapid fire format without it feeling like you're getting hit over the head, right?
Sure.
Because you have the therapist talking to the character, while also talking to the audience, and that's really well done. Sometimes people get close to that but still miss the mark, and it's just too much exposition. The X-Men movies were very much that, to bring it to a Marvel comparison, but this kind of hits the nail on the head, and the actress playing the therapist is great. She plays an awesome villain in the U.S. version of Being Human. She plays this witch character. She's fantastic in that role. Just constantly dropping evil one-liners. It's awesome. But that whole bit with him trying to find his place in the world is interesting. Juxtaposed to Sam's story, it doesn't feel quite like they fit. Sam, they're both trying to refine themselves in the world because the world would on without both of them.
Yep.
But Bucky's feels much more like I've been fighting for 90 years and I don't know what to do without a fight. That's inherently more interesting to me than Sam Wilson trying to figure out what to do with his family, who only missed 5 years with him. There's some mishmash going on. Of course, Bucky is not a superhero right now. Falcon's also a superhero, so he's got that going for him. But, and the whole date sequence was weird, but kind of worked for me because you get that he's still, holding back. He's not all the way in on trying to be a human being again. And I don't know, are they setting that up to be his friend, to be the guy from San Francisco in First Avenger? One of the Howling Commandos? Is that who he's supposed to be?
No.
Because it could be.
Okay, well, maybe you missed it then. The dream sequence when he's the Winter Soldier and he kills the young Asian guy.
Oh, that's him.
That's his son. That's his son, because when they're
I get you. Yes.
Telling him he's missing and he wishes somebody
so that's why he sees him. Yep. That makes way more sense than what I saw. I did not connect those dots
you didn't
at
connect
all.
those two.
I didn't connect that.
Yeah.
Then again, I had literally just watched Captain America: The First Avenger like 3 weeks ago.
Well, but see, the thing is that what worries me about that whole connection was, so how long ago did your son I don't know if it's his son or his grandson, but how long ago did he die? Because that had to have been at least 6 years ago,
In
7,
universe,
more
yeah.
than that.
In
In the
universe, it would have
universe,
been
7 years ago.
7, 8 years.
Because the Winter Soldier, when he finally broke his programming, was in the Winter Soldier, and that was what, 2014? So that's 7 years ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier takes place in the year
Well, no, 7
2014.
years plus 5 years with the blip.
Oh yeah, so 2020, so like 8, good lord.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
in universe, it's been 13 years since
Because we
Iron
know
Man.
for yeah, we know for a fact that he didn't kill anybody as the Winter Soldier, like assassinate somebody since that movie, The Winter Soldier. And so yeah, so I'm a little torn by that. Maybe I'm missing something there, but that's what I took from it, was that it was his son that years ago was murdered and they never found him. And that's, he lives with that guilt because if you look, when he looks in his apartment at the end, when he leaves the date and goes to the
Yeah, he
guy's
sees the
apartment,
photo.
he sees the photo of the guy that you see from the dream. I was like, oh shit, okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's why he's having trouble sleeping, because he still goes to lunch and spends time with this old guy because he feels guilty about it. So yeah. And he was about to tell him that I was the one that killed him, but he couldn't do it, so he just walked away.
Yep. And for me, to get back to the earlier point, that because yeah, that was right before the end credits. Well, no, that's the U.S. agent thing, but that pickup with Bucky would have been awesome as a 2-part pilot. Now we got to
Yeah.
wait a week, and it's not. That's not a cliffhanger that makes me go, yeah, I can wait a week to see that. You know,
Yeah.
like there are some you can. Like episodic content is great when there's a resolution to the story we're given immediately. Like Mandalorian does great single episode stories that lead into the next. Just compared to a Disney Plus series, this didn't quite wrap up itself while also leaving breadcrumbs for later. That makes me go, I really hope part 2, episode 2, is part 2 of what we've got so far.
I hope so too. Yeah.
So, anything else you want to add on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Just wasn't wowed, man. Honestly, wasn't really wowed. It's not bad, but it wasn't like, okay. I was so hyped for it, and like you said, maybe episode 2 is where shit gets real, and we're like, okay, this was the series we were waiting for. That's what I'm
Yeah,
hoping for with this Friday's episode.
I agree. Other bits of this is our one bit of news that's Marvel adjacent, or this series adjacent because it is MCU news, and that is that the Black Widow has been moved back again 2 more months. It's now going to be premiering, I believe, July 9th.
Yep.
Day and date, Disney Plus Premiere Access, so the $30 release schedule, as well as in theaters.
Yep.
I'm hoping by then I'll have been vaccinated because I do plan on going to theaters if I am. I'll play those odds, especially in Iowa where we're almost up to 40% vaccination at this point, which is pretty good, especially given that there's no central booking place. Like the state isn't running one. We're just figuring it the fuck out on our own, which is nuts. But and then the Republicans aren't taking credit for it, which is like, well, you should, because that's self-reliance right there. But you're not taking credit for it because you don't want us to point out the fact that you totally shit the bed. But whatever, that's enough politics. So yeah, what about you? Are you going to see it in theaters?
No, I am just as a fellow immunocompromised person. I am taking the conservative route with the theaters. I'm gonna avoid it as much as possible. Probably early next year is when I'll go see a movie. So Black Widow, I'm renting it at home, $30. So if you want to make the, what is it, a 12-hour, 14-hour drive from
Oh, all the
Iowa
way
to
down
Austin,
there. Yeah.
you can make it down
Hey, it'd
here
be
and you
during
know,
RTX,
I can
like
smoke a
usual
brisket.
time of RTX.
Yeah, it is usual time. Yeah, around that time. I'll smoke a brisket and you can come down, man, and we can just watch this movie. Have Chris jump in here. Maybe by that point, all of us should be vaccinated. But or we can even play the safe route because it'll be July and 100 degrees. We could just post a big sheet outside and watch it on a screen, a projector outside.
That's true.
Yeah. Don't forget the other tidbit was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings
That also
also
got
got
moved.
moved
Yeah.
September 3rd. So it had originally had that July slot. So they're putting Widow in the slot and then moving Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings to September. Apparently, still they're keeping the Eternals in the November date, and they are expecting a full-fledged by September to have a full-fledged movie theater experience back. Yeah, I'm gonna avoid it as much as possible, man. So Black Widow, I'm gonna spend the $30 and watch it at home.
I'll have to consider that because I do have a good setup. for that. Like I got a really nice TV and a good sound system for my room. I'll have to consider it. But another one for me that moved has gotten my attention since it was announced. That's The Kingsman.
Okay.
The Kingsman prequel, also comic book related. So we can talk about it because it's adjacent to that like Mark Millar. That's his name, right? Is that how you say his name? Is it Miller?
Mark Millar. Mark Millar.
Yeah, like Wanted and Kingsman.
Yeah, Mark Millar.
Kick Ass and all that. Like he does a lot of comic book related stuff. Yeah, on the more indie side, or maybe indie label side, you would say. Man, The Kingsman looks dope.
Yeah.
So I'm interested because those two movies were a shitload of fun. So I'm very much excited for that one. That one is now premiering December 22nd. Curious to see if that one.
And don't forget, we have Loki's announced to a June.
Yes, that's coming out in June. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go 6 weeks for this. What is 6 weeks from Friday? Calendars are up, people. This one.
So probably first week of May. So we have like a month of no Marvel.
Yeah, so it's gonna be May. Like April 23rd is when Falcon Winter Soldier will end. There'll be a month to digest, see where things go.
Yep.
And then I think it's June 11th, right?
Yep.
Just that the second Friday in June is when Loki will drop.
I'm assuming it's only going to, if it's June 11th, I'm assuming 1, 2, 3.
If it's only 5,
5 episodes because Black Widow's July 9th.
It's probably a 5-episode series, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to. Maybe it's only 4 because they don't want to compete with theatrical.
Maybe. I just don't see them overlapping those two, like Loki and Black Widow at the same time. I don't.
Yeah,
see that
maybe it's only 4.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. So yeah, we're roughly at an hour.
All right.
Anything else you want to add about Snyder Cut, Falcon Winter Soldier?
For the people that are really like, if you're a contrarian by nature on social media, that's where you like to play that little zone of I'm always against the grain. I will tell you guys, yes, it is a 4-hour grind, but it is a good movie. It's not just the movie that anything's better than the Whedon cut. No, it's actually a good superhero movie.
Yeah.
And I don't say that. I'd like to be honest. You know me, Warburg. Black Panther, I thought was a really good movie for 3 acts, and that third act just completely shit the bed. And we come to find out that Coogler was rushed because of Infinity War. I would like to see a director's cut of that as well. An actual completely done Black Panther. But
I mean, you don't want a PS2 graphic fight scene?
No, I don't want that. That's so horrible.
Yeah.
The other thing is that now they're talking about the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. So
Ayer's talking about it. He's the only one talking about it.
And Warner Bros. is like, it doesn't exist, even though it says it does, and we have no intention of like letting him work on it
because they know James Gunn's gonna shit all over what came before.
Oh, come on, yeah.
He's gonna take a dump on the movie. In the movie,
there's gonna be a little someone is going to take a shit on the DVD box of the Ayer Suicide Squad. Like someone, let's put a bet now. Who is it? Is it Killer Croc?
I could see it being Rick Flag's character.
Rick Flag. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, like because is he the only one that's back outside of Harley Quinn herself?
I think so.
So he's the only good guy that's coming forward.
Amanda Waller is back as well.
Yeah, well, that's actually really great casting. She's awesome in that role.
Yeah, but I think those are the only 3 that are coming back.
So it's got to be one of them that says something.
Yeah,
or at least affirms what gets said. But yeah, that sucked. We're not doing that again.
Yeah, but literally taking a dump in this movie on that movie would probably be the most meta thing, but it would make sense for James Gunn to do that.
Oh, it's like kind of like Spaceballs. Wait, are we watching Spaceballs the movie while we're in Spaceballs the movie? That whole meta sequence is so good. I could see James Gunn pulling something like that, 100%.
Yeah, I think this does open it. It was a good movie. It, unfortunately for fans, DC fans, it opens up a lot of questions of what ifs now because there's a lot of what ifs. So
yep. And one last closing note for me, something to look forward to in the coming week, is on Amazon. The Invincible series comes out. First 3 episodes drop on Friday. The reviews are very much for the first 3, kind of superheroes as we know it, with a harder edge. But I'm like, okay, but now that I know what happens in the Invincible universe, you really should wait to watch the whole series before you judge it.
Exactly.
Because it gets crazy.
Yeah, this isn't one where It's a lot like Breaking Bad. Don't count it. Just don't make your judgment on the first season. Like Invincibles is a slow burning series, and I have the utmost confidence that the series, the TV series, is going to mirror a lot of the
Yeah,
comics.
they
A
took the
lot of
time to cast J.K. Simmons as the dad.
yeah. As a dad,
They know where it's going,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
and I'm very excited to see that.
I mean, it's just like slow burns. I mean, come on, The Boys season 3. We've made the joke, and it's going to be there. Hero Gasm Island is going to happen.
Oh
So
yeah, they're going there. They're going
they're
there.
going there, but they're going to do it as tongue in cheek as possible.
Yep,
You know,
yep. And that's
it's
the
not going to be as
right way to
serious as the
play
comic.
dark in comic books. Like, take it to
Yeah,
the line, but then acknowledge the line is there and make a joke.
exactly.
Like,
And I
that's the
think
way to do it. Snyder
yeah,
often doesn't do that. He
yeah,
goes over the line and then acts like we're all being babies, and it's like, no, you're just being a dick. Whereas, like, Kripke and Gunn get it. Sometimes you
yeah.
gotta wink a little bit at the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the hero orgy is going to play. Billy Butcher's going to play a part in that. And it's just
that's gonna be nuts. And
the
Carl
fuck are we
Urban is
looking at,
gonna
mate?
fucking kill it. I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Still has the best line. That was fucking diabolical.
That's so
Still
good.
the best line of any
While
superhero
holding a
movie.
laser baby.
I was thinking, like,
So good. So good. All right.
I love how we try to stay within this little, and we just start going.
Yeah,
on
we're on
tangents.
tangents. We're on tangents. We got to cut it off right now.
Let's go. I
Thank
need
you
a
everyone
soda.
for watching. It's been a very fun catching up with the Fusion, of course, and
As
with the
always.
backdrop of March Madness going on. We've been talking a lot about sports, but now it's nice to
yeah.
get back to nerddom stuff and actually discuss that.
And then in a few days we'll start arguing and making jokes about the Sweet 16. So let's do it.
Yeah, now the Big Ten just fucking sucks, but everything's fucked. It's one of my favorite shirts. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. If you like this kind of show, be sure to subscribe to your podcast service of choice, as well as maybe check out the YouTube channel if you're listening to a podcast service. We do have a video component where Fusion and I are talking to each other on camera, so if you like that kind of thing, head over there. It's youtube.com/c/MrWartburg. You just search for Wartburg and Fusion Entertainment Review on Spotify, Apple, Google, and basically any major podcast service we are on. So be sure to check us out there. We'll be back in roughly 2 weeks to talk about the aforementioned Invincible series premiere, the first 3, maybe 4 episodes by then, and then the second and possibly third episodes, depending on timing, of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. See you then.
Later, guys.